Mr. Dan Hardy.
Yeah.
Long time no see. So tell us how you've been. Last time I saw you was the PKG days. That was like 2010, before your fight with Carlos Condit. I remember it well.
Okay.
I remember us talking about that fight, and I haven't seen you since. We haven't really talked since. So a whole update from between now and then, just real quick, like what's been going on. I know you changed camps and you've been changing a lot of things.
Well, I stayed in LA for a little longer and carried on working with the PKG guys, and it just kind of got to the stage where I felt that the things I was doing for training camp weren't working, and I wasn't sure what to change, so I decided I was going to change it all. Moved out to Vegas, worked with Big Country for a little while, and that didn't really fit with me very well. So I started working with Frank Mir, and I helped him out for his Nagiro fight. I was one of his sparring partners for his hand speed, and just like the way he structured his camp, and started working with this team, and I'm still there now. Jimmy Gifford, Richard Lundell, Sean Yarborough, that's my team of coaches, and then I work with Robert Drysdale quite a lot at his place, and there's just so many good guys in Vegas. I miss being close to the beach, but it's the right place for right now.
What is the biggest difference in the LA scene where you were training at 10th Planet and like we said PKG and now in Vegas with those guys you just mentioned? What's the biggest difference as far as the evolution of Dan Hardy that you've seen working out there?
Well, there's a different level of professionalism in Vegas, and that's not by any means knocking the guys that are out here, but it's much more of a class scenario out here. Like you've got guys that are training a couple of times a week, training with professional fighters, and I need to be around full-time pros and guys that can really put it on me in the gym. And the other thing as well is I've handed a lot of control over to my coaches, which I've never done before. Normally I'm trying to control my own training camp and making sure that I'm getting the right balance. And it's very difficult to do from my perspective, because I always want to do too much. So my coaches just hold me back a little bit and slow me down and make me rest when I need to. Just that level of professionalism, and to be honest, I think it's a lot that up from training in Montreal as well. Working with George, I can see how he structured his camp, and just a much more professional approach to it.
When you were now, thankfully you bounced back from the 4-fight losing streak, right? Which that looks way worse on paper than it actually is, in my opinion. Because we know the circumstances surrounding those 4. But in that time, was there ever any thoughts to just go back to the UK and go back to your roots at Ruff House and all that stuff?
Yeah, I miss those guys. I miss working with them. But the problem with training in the UK was I was spending so much time in my car driving from one city to another.
Mm-hmm.
I had good sparring in Nottingham with my guys there, but then I was going to the town over in Leicester to do my strength and conditioning, and I was going to a different town for my jiu-jitsu. I just spent most of my day in the car, and obviously that's not good for nutrition and rest. I drive manual transmission as well, so both my legs are going all the time. The thing with Vegas is that everything's so settled now, and I can bring people to me if I need them, and the gym's literally across the road from my house, so I get all the rest I need. I live right near the mountains, so I can get outdoors all the time. It's more suitable for training camp in Vegas.
Okay, what about your old teammates like Paul Daly? Do you still talk to them, have a relationship with those guys?
Yeah, they'll always be my brothers. I'll always be Ruff House. I'll always be a part of that team. And the thing is with the Ruff House fights is, regardless of where you go and what you do, Ruff House is a mentality. It was never a gym, and it was never made team for and it still is, but it's more of a mentality than anything. It's your approach to the fights, and I'm still bonded with those guys because we all approach the fights in the same way. And it's just difficult now because obviously the sport's evolving so quickly, and those guys are struggling to get fights and to like start working and things. It's kind of sad, but it's an individual sport, and you've really got to kind of walk your own path. I'll always be in touch with those guys and always be friends, but right now Vegas is the place.
Okay, perfect. Now you're getting ready to fight Matt Brown in April on Fox.
Yep.
What are your thoughts about that fight? Let's just go over that.
I think he's a tough dude. He has to fight me at the end of last year. He wanted to call me out of Twitter. He wanted to fight in Japan. He had 4 wins last year. His last one being a knockout of a Mike Swick. So it's an impressive win streak and an impressive finish to the year. So he's a guy that's got a lot of momentum in the division right now. I think his fan base is growing. People love his fights because he always comes to war. And I want to fight people that bring it. Because the thing I realise more than anything is that I've got to be enjoying myself, and there are some fights that are just not fun, and I can't motivate myself for a fight that I know is going to be a boring one. Matt Brown is exactly the opposite. He's he's going to be in my face. He's going to bring it. He's got good conditioning. He's a tough guy, and he's never been knocked out. And I'm the guy that can knock him out. I know that. He's going to run on something real sharp, and I'm going to put him on the canvas. And it's going to be a big win for me because he had a big win last year, and that for me that just kind of adds to my record. I think it's a big name for me.
Okay, now in my opinion, he is probably the perfect style matchup for you. That's the type of guy you want, like for every reason you just said.
Yep.
In the past, we've seen guys like Anthony Johnson, George St. Pierre. The guys that want to wrestle more. That's been your I don't want to say weakness, but that's been the glaring hole in your game. When the UFC calls you up for fights, do they give you other options? When you got the call for Matt Brown, was it Matt Brown, fighter A, B, and C? Which one do you want to choose? Are you picky with your opponents, meaning you just want these type of guys that are more brawler-based, or?
No, whenever Joe Silva's come to me and offered me a fight, I've never turned it down.
Okay.
Never, ever. And I think that's why we get on so well, because I'm not as much of a pain in the ass as some guys. But yeah, he comes to me and he said, okay, Matt Brown, and it's an easy choice.
That's it.
Yeah. I'll fight anybody at any time, and there were some decisions the UFC made that would surprise me. Anthony Johnson fight surprised me. I thought that was a bit of an odd decision, but it is what it is. I'm not really in the business to pick and choose my opponents, but I am starting to look out for myself a lot more. I'm starting to, well, if you don't have your own plan, you become part of somebody else's. Terrence McKenna once said, kind of sticks in my mind. So. If they ever offer me an opponent that I just don't want to fight, I wouldn't take the fight. Because if I don't feel there's a value in it for me, then I don't really see a point in it. There are a lot of good guys in the UFC and a lot of good fights for them.
Okay, good. Let's go more current events. The big layoff. I know you went out and you tweeted like, why do people always point at me? This was just real recently. This is real current news. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, Dana White said, possibly 100 more guys. Everybody's speculating on who's next and all that stuff. Just overall thoughts on that.
Well, people forget that we're in the entertainment business. First and foremost, people are buying tickets because they want to watch fights. And I think it's unfortunate that John Fitch got cut. I'm a big John Fitch fan, and I enjoy watching his fights, but I also watch him from a different perspective to most. I'm not in a sports bar having a few beers and want to watch someone get bloodied up. I'm picking John Fitch's fights apart and learning from him because he's a fantastic fighter. But at the end of the day, people spend a lot of money on tickets. They want to see a fight, and I just think there are some guys out there that they come to win. They don't come to fight. And I see the point. I see where the UFC are at. They kind of caught this in a rock and a hard place. They've got to keep the fans happy. They've also got to think about the rankings and the sport itself. So it's difficult, but I think they're going to cut a few guys and shape the division up, and maybe it'll just make a few people fight a bit harder, which is maybe what they need.
Okay. Also, I read, and I don't know if it was interpreted wrong, in a recent interview you did maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure. You were talking about possibly like maybe this year, a few more fights, maybe leaving the sport. Was that interpreted properly? And okay, so elaborate on that. Why and what's going on?
I'm not sure yet. I'm just kind of I'm looking at this next year as my last 12 months, and I'm just going to give it everything I've got. And it's very easy to dedicate and motivate myself when I know I've got a short window to fight for. In my head, I always said I was going to retire at 35, and I'm 31 this year. But I'll be honest, the idea of fighting 4 more years and having to put myself through this it's just exhausting thinking about it. So give myself a 12-month window and run at it as hard as I can, and then kind of see where I'm at after that. But there are a lot of other things I want to do in my life. Back to university, and I want to study philosophy. I want to travel a lot more. And, I think there are other ways I can benefit the sport in and out of it. And I think that possibly the compete at some point is going to start holding me back from what I really should be doing in my life.
Okay. So not a guaranteed last 12 months, but something that you're.
Nothing's guaranteed, but yeah, in my head I'm going 12 to 18 months. And I'm aiming for a title shot.
Okay. I hope you get your title shot. What do you think about the top of your division? UFC 158 and all this stuff going on. They have like a mini welterweight tournament going. The division's totally changed since the last time we fought for a title.
Yeah. There are so many good guys in it. It's a much more dynamic division than it was. It's arguable that I got a title shot because we were lacking contenders, and I was coming off 4 wins and beating Mike Swick. It kind of made sense to put me in there. But now there are so many guys that can contend for the belt, and there's a good argument for it. So it's an interesting division to be in. I've always thought the welterweight division was kind of weak in comparison to the 55ers and even the 35ers and the middleweights. But I think there's some toughest division in the sport now. I think we've got some real monsters in the division, and it's such a well-rounded group of guys as well. We've got good wrestlers with punching power. We've got great jiu-jitsu guys that are learning striking. It's really all up in the air. I mean, in the next 12 months, the belt could change hands a few times. And I think George is kind of winding his career down. I think he's looking at possibly a couple of super fights and then finishing there. And certainly once GSP vacates the belt, there's going to be a whole bunch of guys trying to grab it. Then it gets really interesting.
At the top of the division, is there anybody? You're saying you want another title shot. Is there anybody that stands out to you that you want to have from Matt Brown, obviously?
Carlos Condit, obviously, I owe him one. I need to sit him down on the canvas one time to even that score. Koscheck has always been a fight I would like, just I don't like the guy. I've been watching his fight very closely against Robbie Lawler. I think that's going to be a very interesting one. But to be honest, other than that, I don't really mind. I've got nothing against anybody in the